this video, you'll learn about special cases of solving systems of equations by graphing. In our first example, we're first going to graph the equation x plus y equals 4. So if we solve to get y by itself, we have to subtract x from both sides. So if y equals negative x plus 4. So the slope is negative 1 over 1, and the y-intercept is 4. So I can graph my y-intercept, plot another point, and then draw on the line. Then for the other equation, we're going to solve to get y by itself again. So in order to do so, I would subtract x from both sides. So if y equals negative x minus 3. So the slope is negative 1 over 1. And the y-intercept is negative 3. So I can plot my y-intercept, use the slope to graph another point, and then draw in the line. Now, since the two lines are parallel and never intersect, this is what we would call no solution. Now for the next example, we're first going to solve for y in the first equation. So we have negative 6y equals 9x plus 18. If we want to solve to get y by itself, we would have to divide everything on both sides of the equation by negative 6. So we'd have y equals negative 9 over 6x, and 18 divided by negative 6 is negative 3. Now that 9 over 6 can simplify to negative 3/2 x minus 3. So I know that my slope is negative 3 over 2. The y-intercept is negative 3. So I can plot my y-intercept, graph another point on the line, and then draw in the line. Now the other equation is 2y equals negative 3x minus 6. If we want to solve to get y by itself, I have to divide everything on both sides. So I'll have y equals negative 3/2 x minus 3. So the slope is negative 3 over 2, and the y-intercept is negative 3. Now notice that the two equations that I have are the exact same. So if I were to graph my second equation, I can plot my point at negative 3, plot my new point using the slope, and my equation will be lying directly on top of that line. Now this means that the lines are going to intersect all the time. So there's not just one solution or no solution. This time there's what we call infinitely many solutions. Next, you're going to fill in a chart to represent the different types of solutions for a system of equations. When there is one solution, the relationship for the equations is that there is different slopes. If there is infinitely many solutions, the two equations have the same slope and y-intercept because they're the exact same. And lastly, if there's 0 solutions or no solution, the two equations have the same slope and different y-intercepts. But in order to tell any of this information, I would first have to change the equation into y equals mx plus b form. Now we can determine how many solutions there are without graphing. However, we do have to solve for y equals first every time. So if I start with the equation 3x plus 2y equals 8, to get y by itself, I would first subtract 3x from both sides. So I'd have 2y equals negative 3x plus 8. Then I would divide both sides by 2, I'd have y equals negative 3/2 x plus 4. So the slope is negative 3 over 2, and the y-intercept is 4. Now for the other equation, 3x plus 2y equals negative 6, I again have to first solve to change it into the y equals form. So I would subtract 3x from both sides to get 2y equals negative 3x minus 6. Then I would divide both sides by 2. So I'd have y equals negative 3/2 x minus 3. So the slope is negative 3 over 2, and the y-intercept is negative 3. Now since the two equations have the same slope, but different y-intercepts, this means that there is no solution. In our next example, the first equation, y is already by itself. So our equation is y equals 2x minus 3. So the slope is 2, and the y-intercept is negative 3. For the other equation, I had to solve to get y by itself. So I start with 6x minus 3y equals 9. I would first subtract 6x from both sides to get negative 3y equals negative 6x plus 9. Then I would divide both sides by negative 3 to get y equals 2x minus 3. So the slope is 2, and the y-intercept is negative 3. Now, since the two equations have the same slope and same y-intercept, this means that there is infinitely many solutions. For the last example, our first equation is 2x plus 3y equals 6. To get y by itself, I first subtract 2x from both sides. So I'll have 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. Then divide both sides by 3 to get y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 2. So the slope is negative 2 over 3. The y-intercept is 2. For the other equation, we again had to solve to get y by itself. So our equation is 4x plus y equals 3. I would subtract 4x from both sides to get y equals negative 4x plus 3. So the slope is negative 4, and the y-intercept is 3. Now, looking at the two equations, since there are different slopes, this means that there would be one solution.